Brilliant. We are now recording. I still don't know what to do with these videos after you record. Apparently they save somewhere. So
Yeah, they're saving to
yeah,
the cloud.
yeah, they've got to get them somewhere. So cool. Okay. Let's get started. Just like I said, this is quite new to me. So today I'm here with Phil Gordon, who has opened a podcast, or set up a podcast, I should say, called Legends of the Brand. Hi, Phil.
Hi, James. How are you?
I'm good. Good. How are you?
Good. Yeah, not too bad. Thank you for a Friday, and it's it's good. It's things are ticking along okay. Yeah,
Brilliant.
it's good
So
fun.
for those who don't know, Legends of the Brand is a podcast that discusses essentially legends of the brands within the winter sports industry. It's a really cool idea. Great for people within the trade and consumers to get to know people behind the brands that they maybe know and love in the industry, and maybe also some of the brands that they don't know. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you did this?
Yeah, no worries. So, one of the reasons I kind of want to do this is, we work in such a cool industry. We have so many interesting people which we meet. We have, some great characters that almost encapsulate the ethos of the brand. You have people who perhaps have worked in the industry or worked for a brand for many, many years, and you kind of can, they live and breathe the brand. And I can't help but think there's a bit of a parallel between people who work for a brand and what the brand says. If you, sometimes you think about people that buy into a product. Perhaps you buy into Coke over Pepsi, or Vauxhall over a Ford, or something like that. People buy into a brand because they have a certain connection with it. So I wanted to kind of explore a little bit beyond that in terms of, people who want to work for a brand. And if it's a lifestyle industry such as what we work in terms of snow sports, what draws you to work for Rosin? What draws you to work for Odlo? What draws you to work for all these other industries and companies? Because obviously, let's be honest, there's a paycheck at the end of it, which is probably part of the reason, but there's perhaps something that kind of connects people a little bit towards it. For example, James, why do you work for Odlo as opposed to the North Face, for example? There's probably some sort of connection in there that the brand speaks to you in a certain way. And I think that there's a fun way to explore that. And so what I try to do is try to explore perhaps some of the stories and the characters of people that work for these different brands, to try to kind of dive into it. And some common themes of fun and probably inclusiveness, and there seems to be a lot of characters behind. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to start it. And I think as well that not only do I kind of use the term legends as twofold, one being the legend in terms of the person that actually works for the brand itself, in terms of an outstanding character. Perhaps it's the founder, perhaps it's a person that is known within the brand. You think of people like perhaps Eric Davies, from Salomon, or you get that sort of character. But then there's also the legends and the myths of a brand itself. If you think of some of the legends and myths that you have from, say, Apple Computers, or from Richard Branson at Virgin, there's certain legends and story that help build up the brand personality and ethos. And I think sometimes when you have people that are working, especially for a long time for a company, that they not only build on those stories and ethos, but they're probably best placed to share with us some of those things. And I think right now, especially with all the things going on, it really is a fun opportunity for us to talk to people who are in the industry, people who are consumers, about the stories of the brand, and kind of take a step aside from perhaps traditional marketing and kind of dive a little bit deeper in terms of what makes the brand tick, and perhaps why we should make an investment in certain products, and what it is that about a brand that perhaps we connect with them. So that's kind of how I came about it. And to be honest with you, with all the stuff going on in this world, I think it's kind of nice to give back a little bit and to kind of chat to some people that are quite fun characters, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think during this time as well, it's good to talk to lots of people. I find that talking to people helps when you're a bit more isolated than usual.
Yeah.
So that's great. And part of the beauty of Winter Insight is to get to talk to interesting people like you, as well as outside of normal doing it in my day job. So, so that's great. So So it's kind of, let me start that question again. What group are the podcasts aimed at, and can anyone really enjoy them?
Yeah, definitely. I put it down to being a snow sport enthusiast. So my ideal customer, if you want to call it that, would be somebody who is perhaps interested in snow sports. Perhaps they're an instructor. Perhaps they work in a shop. Perhaps perhaps they're working in resort. They're on, perhaps a member of like Ski Club of Great Britain. They're, anybody could listen to them in terms of, I think my dad probably listens to them as well, which is kind of great. But I think ultimately they're probably aimed more at people who have a general interest in snow sports. So I'd say yes, on general snow sports, anybody can listen to them, but then also perhaps finding out a bit more about the business themselves. So say shop staff, and I would say instructors or general snow sport enthusiasts, perhaps the people that would read Winter Insight, perhaps go to the ski shows, perhaps be booking holidays, looking online and following snow sports in general, perhaps watch Ski Sunday. It's those sort of people that we're kind of speaking to that have a general interest in it, and just giving a little bit behind the scenes of the brands as well.
Okay, great. And obviously your day job is a buyer of one of the world's largest winter sports retailers. So that's how you have a lot of connections with these brands as well. Where did you find the time to do this? And
Well, I've kind of done it on my own time, kind of after school and weekends, because obviously with the whole COVID situation going on, many people in retail have perhaps been doing different, perhaps haven't been working full time. So, but yeah, it's so I'm going to kind of say doing it on my own time, out of hours. But I think as well that having the chance to speak to a lot of these brands and people, what's interesting is that from my perspective is that it's though I'm basically speaking to friends, speaking to mates who've gone and they are involved in the snow sport industry. Some of these people who I've worked with, I've spent weeks and with them, traveling, and people have signed passports, or people have come to significant birthday parties and life events. So they're probably almost friends first, and they happen to work in the snow sport industry. So I'm really, really, really fortunate that a lot of the people who I've had the chance to speak with on my podcast are probably mates, as well as I'm not going to say colleagues, but they're probably mates before colleagues to a certain extent, if you see what I mean on that.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, it's interesting how the ski industry, you're essentially all competitors, even retailers and brands, but it's like one big happy family, really. Even with a few aunties and uncles that maybe people don't like very much, but they still bring them in.
Yeah, that's all right. Everybody likes everybody else. And I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? With, I think the snow sport industry as a whole it depends on which level we look at it. If we look at the consumer level, it's obviously massive. We have millions of people around the world that love to go skiing. We have, millions of people in the UK that go skiing. But, in that aspect, it's big. But the reality is that there's actually quite a small number of brands at the top, whether it's, working in hardware or I know it's software, but soft goods. But in that, there aren't that many that are specifically snow sport or ski and snowboard related. And I think you get to know the same, a similar group of people that are going to the similar trade shows and all of that. And when we spend so much time together, I think we all end up having to work together in very positive ways. And when I think the UK side of things is probably different, perhaps in North America or perhaps other cultures, that there is definitely a case everybody pulls together. And though we have competitors, we have brand competitors working with. At the end of the day, they want to make a sale. Whether it's Odlo and another soft good brand, competitors, but also especially in the UK, people do work together to kind of get to trade shows or to carpool or anything like that. And when we're at SIGB events or anything like that, everybody definitely does. There's a camaraderie, which I think is good, and we need to pull together because ultimately the more people we have in the snow sport industry, the more people go skiing, and collectively we all win because we're hopefully have more customers. So I think that's why we all, it's worthwhile for us all together.
Yeah, no, perfect. And I think for me, nothing pinnacleizes that more than maybe the slide show, but particularly the ski test, where, we can ski with all sorts of people across the industry, from professional ex-skiers like Zindal we had there a couple of years ago, and Glenn Blake, who we've had the ski test as well. So it gets quite interesting as well. I won't ask you which your favorite podcast is so far. I feel that'd be a bit unfair. But I know you've done a few so far, including Dave Sawyer-Parker from Marco Vocal, Chris Best from Rossignol, Tord Nielsen from Iconic, and Inga Taylor, marketing manager at Amma Sports. So is there any clips from those as an example, just a couple of clips that are highlights for you?
Are there any particular clips? I think
ease people in.
Yeah, ease people. I mean, I don't have any right here that I can share, but I think Dave that we know. I think one of the most fascinating things that he's done is he obviously has his background in bindings, which, for people who've never, I wouldn't say studied it, but he did his. I keep wanting to say it is his doctorate, his PhD. I'm going to call him like Dr. Dave, but I know it's not right.
Binding doctor. There we go.
The binding doctor. He did his dissertation on bindings and binding releases after he'd had an accident, which again I think is fascinating that you have something that's so specific and technical, and so that I think was a really interesting insight. Chris Best, again. I hadn't realized when he was growing up, he'd almost outside his front door, he had a slope, or had a snow slope, and there was a traveling ski lift company that came around, I guess, every year and set up a drag lift. And again, I find that fascinating, coming from Canada, that there, you have to go to a specific resort, and obviously he tells the story much better, but those are sort of things which I think when you have the opportunity to speak to an interviewee on a podcast, or have that chance to have a conversation, and especially speaking to characters such as that you pull it out of them. And, who would have thought that? And it's great insight in terms of brands. So I think those are probably some really fun things to chat about for sure. And, I think working with or chatting with Tord, and one of the things he was obviously very, very proud of is the work that we did with the NHS in terms of during lockdown. They obviously donated, I want to say 700 pairs of footbeds or something like that.
About nearly 1,000. Yeah.
Nearly 1,000, to the NHS workers, because they're on the feet all the time. And those are from I would say not from my perspective in terms of getting anything out of it, but it's wonderful that people are doing things and donating and helping. And I think it's something that it's not that we need to advertise about it, but people should get some credit for the fact that they're helping out. I mean, obviously, don't get me wrong, frontline workers are the real heroes here, and that's the important thing. But It's nice to be able to share some of those stories. So those are probably some of the highlights of some of the recent podcasts for sure.
No, brilliant. I think, again, to go back to the consumers and trade, as things like the bindings conversation was really interesting for consumers who want to know more about that side of technical. Yeah. And then also, personally, I had no idea of Inga's background. I had so much detail in that in the podcast. So
and
that was fantastic.
There's somebody who's definitely got a huge passion for the snow sport industry, and she is effervescent when she talks about people and skiing in the mountains, and to come from a digital education background, and to come from a position where it is almost, on paper, it's chalk and cheese, isn't it? You kind of go digital in the mountains. And I find that, I really find that interesting. But ultimately, and I think that's one of the key things about the snow sport industry as a whole, and whether it's skiing, whether it's snowboarding, is our paths probably wouldn't cross had it not been for this. And you think about the doors that perhaps have been opened for yourself or for myself because our common link has been skiing. Now, you probably get that in other sports, probably like sailing or that sort of thing, but there seems to be just a really nice link with snow sports. So the fact that Inga's started off working digital education, worked her way through Apple and everything like that, and now works for a snow sport brand and gets to travel and ski. I think it's a brilliant story. So again, I love being able to share some of these stories with people. And I think it also shows that you have people can go off and they can kind of follow their passion. They can go and follow something that is they're enthusiastic about. And if they're currently working as a chemist somewhere, it doesn't mean that you can't go off and perhaps work in the snow sport industry somewhere. And again, probably you end up finding that especially people who have job changes through COVID and lockdown and all that sort of stuff, that if you've kind of got that inkling that you want to perhaps work in the snow sport industry, perhaps learn more about boots and bindings and skis and helmets and all that sort of stuff, maybe, or clothing or whatever it is, there's opportunities out there for you to learn. And, maybe it's an opportunity for you to kind of get involved.
Yeah, definitely. And I think anyone that was, say, interviewing, say, a digital marketing person, and they'd listen to your podcast and gave some insight on people like Inga in the industry, that would sit well, So it can help those people as well. So that's great. What podcasts have you got coming up, Phil?
Oh, well, if I tell you, I'd have to kill you. I've got a handful, which I'm again quite excited about. I try to have one recorded and one in the bank. So, as it stands right now, I've got I think in the next week or so, I've got Finlay Mickle on there, which I'm quite excited about. Yep. So I'm excited about having him. And then I've also got Pete Waghorn from Salomon, and then we'll see who else I can get on board. But I think it'd be kind of nice to take a look ultimately at some of. I'd like to take a look at a few more females in the snow sport industry. I know I chatted to Inga, but I think there's an opportunity to speak to other females, and whether they're in retail or whether they're working for brands in specific, because I think as interesting as all the brands are, I think it's also interesting to talk about some of the stories and the challenges of that. So I'd like to perhaps speak to a few people like that. And maybe speaking to a few of the independent shops as well, and find out what are the challenges they've had this year in terms of the COVID and lockdown and how they've overcome it. Now, they themselves are a brand, and what it means to them to be a brand. How do they build up being a brand? I think that's because everybody has their own little niche, their own little thing that makes themselves a little bit different. So looking ahead to maybe people who are brands themselves, whether it's somebody like, maybe like Craig Don, or maybe speak to, say, Colin Martin or something like that. But so those sort of things which I'm kind of thinking about. But ultimately, if other people have some thoughts and suggestions, then by all means, hit me up on Instagram at Legends of the Brand, DM me and with some ideas and suggestions, or drop me an email. And I'd be, I'm open to suggestions in terms of who people might like to hear from, and or questions they might have if people are interested to ask specific questions, or if there's certain themes. Perhaps in the summertime we move over to clothing or something like that. I don't know, but I'm open for suggestions as well.
Okay, great. I will obviously make sure that any comments that are made after this video that get fed back to you if anyone has any specific requests.
Positive comments.
Yeah. More of a request of who to interview than anything else. Yeah. Okay, great. And that sounds amazing. There's obviously a fair bit in the pipeline, especially it's coming up to winter when you must be getting a bit busier as well. So that's great. You kind of answered that really, and yet in the sense of, can people make requests for certain brands and individuals? Yeah,
definitely. I think it's early days for me. It's growing. I'm learning. I'm growing as much as the podcast does, and so in terms of having other brands or people to be interviewed, I think it would be fantastic to speak to influential people or fun people, people who want to share their story. And if there's people who want to introduce me, or people who are who feel they have a story they want to share, then by all means reach out and get in touch, because I think this is almost a good platform for people to chat. And I think especially with something like podcasting is, don't get me wrong, I love video. And I think that's, video is going to be the future for so many different things. But one of the great things about podcasting is you can put something on in your ear and you can continue on doing other jobs, whether it's waxing skis, whether it's mounting bindings, like paying attention, but you can kind of put a podcast on the background. So, we all love watching a ski film and everything like that, but sometimes it's kind of nice just to have something on the background, and whether you're driving, that sort of thing. So that's why I think that, if there are people that want to reach out and for us to chat to them and to share a story, especially in the snow sport industry in this time, then by all means, get in touch and see what we can do.
Excellent. I mean, I'm a big podcast fan because, like you say, listening to it in the car, it's almost like I feel in the discussion. And certainly with your podcast, because I know the people and the discussion content, it feels like that even more. So I think it's excellent. You touched on it there. There are some stories within the ski and snowboard world that cannot be told.
Yeah.
Have you had many stories on your podcast so far you've had to cut out?
No. Everything's been good. I mean, I think part of it really is that there's there are certain things like that. Everybody I think in the snowsport industry wants everybody to succeed, and there are, we have there let's be honest, there's been some really funny stories of, perhaps when people left their wallet someplace, or perhaps done dancing, or I don't know what it is, and those are really, they're really quite funny. But the paradox is, or the irony is, they're only really funny at the time to the people that are there, because the fact that Bobby got up and started doing dancing, or I don't know, whatever it is, it really doesn't mean anything to anybody else if you're not there. It's like trying to tell a joke to this, you'll really find this funny, and they go, no, I didn't. And so, to be fair, no, there haven't really been anything like that's come up. It did make me chuckle at one point, because I thought to myself, maybe what we should do is a Legends of the Brand off-piste, which is if people want to share some of their stories. But then I figure that's evidence.
Yeah, so that was my next question. Is there an after-hours version? I know from speaking with a couple of people that you have interviewed already, and they're coming up as well. And obviously, I know some stories in the winter industry, like any industry, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Some of them probably were funnier at the time and best left untouched. But yeah, so there is a potential consideration for an after hours.
I was going to say Christmas special, but I don't know if that's the right thing to say.
I think it might need to be more of a round table discussion with a few people that are not shy to tell those stories.
Yeah, exactly. No, but I think ultimately, though, though there are potentially funny stories and like that, we all come together because we have a shared experience which we want to share. And skiing and spending time in the mountains, you think about times at the ski test like Kutai, or you go to the ISPO, all these things. They're just we get excited as an industry talking about products, talking about, oh my God, you see this, and I think that some of these we just get to a point where, I mean, I heard somebody say this once. I'm going off a bit of a tangent, but we are only able to internalize so much excitement until we get to a point, and then we turn and say we have to share it. And you think back to some of the times when you've gone down a ski run, and you think that was really good, but then you perhaps you've just done something a little bit different, and the first thing you just want to grab somebody and go, oh my God, did you see what I did this? You see what I did this? And I think that that's the same sort of thing, and that's part of, I think, us as a culture, as a snow sport culture. That's us, perhaps people like product and can get excited about it. You think about when you go to some of the big trade shows in times past, like ISPO. It's like, oh, you got to go check out, this backpack or that ski and this particular boot. It's really, really, really cool. And those are the things where I think people really want to share. And then ultimately, it comes back to some of the stories. It's, at the end of at the physical end of the day, when people are sitting around, perhaps with a pint of beer in their hand, and they kind of say, oh man, it was great. Did you see this? you know, James jumped off this and he did that and it was really, really cool. That's kind of, people just want to have these stories to share. And I think that's a really, really important thing. So
Yeah. And
might
I
have
guess
an after hours.
there's some in-industry style jokes as well,
Yeah,
I think may go over some people's heads sometimes.
yeah.
Well. But we're not short of characters in the industry.
No, that's for sure.
So your podcast, we love it at Winter Insight. It links to trade experts to consumers and retailers. It's a great concept. I mentioned this to you before on the phone. Winter Insight was launched for almost the same reason, but as a news portal to link those aspects of the ski market together a bit more. But why, in your view, does the trade need to interact with retail? Let me ask that question. Why, in your view, does the trade need to interact with consumers more?
I think part of it really is, it's probably overused, but I'm going to say the term to educate people. And I think it's also to share the value of products. And I think that we as a trade, we get to know our products and we get to know what it is that we know what we want to share. And let's be honest, snow sports and some of these technical sports can be, they don't have to be expensive, but they're not necessarily cheap. And I think that it's really important that we have the opportunity to share with, as an industry, to share with customers the value and the time and effort that brands and trade put into bringing a product to market. It's not the same by any stretch of the imagination, but if you think about farmers markets and if you think about the whole, farm to table sort of thing, people, once they understand the pedigree of perhaps where the vegetables come from, or where they understand where the meat comes from, or anything like that, they can understand that. They can understand the value of it. Yes, you can still, you can go to a farm shop and you can perhaps, see where your vegetables are grown, and you can do that. And I think that with our industry, it's a really important that we try to share with people how hands-on and where the value comes from for making skis, for making boots, for making high-end clothing. And that's not to say that there aren't products out there that are great to start off with, but ultimately, once you've tried something and you can then invest perhaps in something better, it's sharing with consumers the better options. If you think about how a ski boot is made, most ski boots, or a lot of ski boots, the internal portion that makes the boot, is still, yes, there's huge technologies that go into to manufacturing them and digitizing them like that, but a lot of them are all still done by hand, little pieces of wood that you build the shape up, and they have a master last maker that makes the inside of the boot. And from there, once they build one, then they digitize it, and then they kind of, expand the ratios and like that, But that's why it takes so long to build a ski boot. Or you take it, every ski in principle is made by hand. It's all laid up like a sandwich, and it's trying to share with people how these products are actually made. So when you go and you buy a ski, and it might cost you £600, and you realize it's actually all been handmade, and that it's been hand tuned, it's been laid up, not by robot. You're trying to think that's actually incredible value, as opposed to perhaps something that's, I wouldn't say buy off the shelf, but it's trying to share the value. So I think there's a really important link between the sharing with people the stories, to give them the information so they can understand where their products come from, and from there they can make an informed decision in terms of where they want to make their investment and how that different brand perhaps speaks to them, whether it's environmentally, whether it's through quality, whether it's through innovation, whether it's through marketing, how they connect. So I think there's some definite links there as to how we can, as to why there's a good reason for people to, consumers and trade to work together.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, I agree. I think I've been to boot factories and ski factories like you have, and the processes are unbelievable. And yeah, I agree. Actually, from the craftsmanship side of it, it would be great to maybe even for brands to have more video content on their websites of how they make some of the skis and the processes involved and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah, I agree. I think that's one of the other things with the boot fitting side of it is that sometimes consumers even come into store and still don't know what to expect, even in some of the larger retailers. And so I think as generally as an industry as a whole, we could do a better job at educating consumers on what they should be looking out for. So that's great.
And the UK is really good at it. I mean, the UK, I think we sometimes don't take credit for the fact that we're actually, we're not necessarily based in the Alps, as obviously like France and Austria and Germany, everything like that. But the technical level of understanding, the technical level of boot fitting, technical level of ski understanding is very, very, very high. And, we perhaps shouldn't take that, I wouldn't say take it for granted, but we shouldn't underestimate that, at how knowledgeable everybody is. So yeah, people coming into store, there's a wealth of information by the staff, whether you're, or even taking a look online, there's a lot of stuff out there. But yeah, I agree. It'd be great if perhaps working with brands, we can share a little bit more behind the scenes, not necessarily give away trade secrets, but to show where the processes come from. And that goes from everything from clothing through to boots and helmets and everything like that, because then it gives people an opportunity to understand what they're buying into.
Yeah, and I think clothing, you touched on it there, and I think it goes the same for all products. But people want to know, why is this version £100 and this one is £300? Well, there is a very valid reason for that, as you and I well know. So I think sometimes the consumers could maybe understand that, because skis can look very similar, right? And you and I know why that might be way cheaper, and it's usually what's inside it. Okay, great. So I got a couple more questions for you, Phil, and then I'll let you go. But the next one was just, are there currently any common avenues for consumers to follow or join that give them more insight to the winter industry?
Well, winter insight would be the obvious one.
Well, yes, obviously.
And my podcast. No, I think definitely. There's a wealth of information online. Things like, Ski Club of Great Britain is probably a really good starting point. When Ski Sunday comes on again, woo, that'd be great. I think there's I would think that many of the what's great now with as much technology is out there and media is that there are a lot of the retailers and brands themselves have information out there. So I would definitely hit up a few of the big brands, people, whether it's like Rossignol or Marker or Ortofox, all these brands on Mammut tend to have their own information base. I'll hold my hand up, so I haven't checked whether Odlo do or not, do they?
No, it's fine. Consumers can sign up, I guess, subscribe to all brands, right? And they should get some information in their inbox.
I think the challenging thing with that is, like anything, and it's trying to cut through where genuine information. I'm not going to use the term fake news, but I think it's really important, especially for technical aspects when it comes to skis, bindings, avalanche, and safety gear, that sort of thing, that you're getting that sort of information from, say, the Ski Club of Great Britain, or from the brand itself, or from a recognized retailer, because it is so important. And so, I would definitely say there's lots of stuff out there, perhaps a lot of fun stuff, but definitely hit up the brands, hit up the retailers, Ski Club Great Britain, and there's probably a number of other ones like that online.
There's lots of media publications, Fall Line, In the Snow, etc., that are out there dedicated to winter sports too. So I think that's great. How do you personally feel about the upcoming winter season, and have you got plans to be in the mountains?
I always have plans to be in the mountain. Whether or not I'll actually ever go is something completely different. How do I feel about the upcoming season? I think that hesitant is probably the right word. I think I would definitely love to go and spend some time in the mountains. I think we all need to get out and perhaps stand on top of the hill and just kind of just blow the cobwebs away. I think that'd be really good. I think that I'm positive about it in the sense that I believe, I would like to think probably the end of the season is when we're going to be able to do something, whether it's the March time, head out and do something. I really find it difficult to comprehend that between now and then we'll be able to realistically get out. I mean, we may be physically be able to head out, but I'm not too sure whether or not I feel safe enough to be heading out to the mountains as of yet. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence on it. How about you? What are your thoughts?
I feel sad about the upcoming winter. It would be probably the most descriptive word. But I do have plans to be in the mountains. So yeah, I mean, I feel sad about the fact that it's just not going to be a normal ski winter, and it's going to affect the industry massively. But yeah, I always have plans to be in the mountains, and luckily through my day job, I usually travel a lot. But if we do manage to travel back to the offices in France, like you, whether there's a 14-day quarantine, I think is what you were touching on there. Yeah. It's that kind of thing will impact whether we can go or not, depending on what we've got to do when we come back.
I was chatting to somebody a little while ago, and they said that one of the things they missed the most is airplane food. I'm like, yes, I know what you mean.
I don't miss airplane food. I miss Pret at the airport. I miss Pret, like at the gate. Yeah. I used to fly out of London City a lot, so there's a little Pret right near the gate that always was the Zurich gate. So yeah, that was great. So a couple more questions for you, Phil.
No worries.
COVID-19, as we talked about before the call, has generally been quite a negative thing for the winter industry. However, I found for some people, it can be positive or negative. So how has COVID-19 impacted you personally in a positive and negative way?
Well, I think I think probably it's obviously been a massive challenge for everybody in terms of going through the process of homeschooling and trying to adapt that. I think for me, or for us, it was kind of one of these things that nobody knew how long it was going to take initially. So it probably took a few. There's probably when the lockdown first happened and all that, we probably tried to keep things as close to normal in the old way, in the hope that it was going to finish and we were going to go back to it. So I think for me, it probably took about 6 weeks to come to grips with the fact that things have changed. So in that sense, I mean, the fact it was a lovely summertime, from a positive aspect, it definitely gave the opportunity to get outside and gave the chance to go spend a lot more time in the garden and working and everything like that. So that's been really positive. I had on my bike. So that's been really, really positive. I think the negative side is that it's just been probably closed in a lot, especially now that the weather's changed. The fact that it's been a bit darker, a bit wet and everything like that, probably not quite so much desire to head outside and do stuff. I'm probably feeling the dark nights a little bit more than normal. So I think that's probably been a bit of a negative. So I've had to make an investment into one of those home sun lamps, so it kind of replicates the sun. So sometimes when I'm working away at the computer, I have this blazing panel of light just there, which kind of replicates the sun. So
is that your way to tell us you have a tanning bed at home?
No, yeah, Donald Trump and I, we're like that. Yeah. No, it's quite good actually.
I've heard about them. Yeah, that sounds. Yeah, it's to give you the more vitamin V and all of that you don't get in the winter months when you're working inside a lot. Yeah, no, that's great.
Exactly. So,
and you're glowing, Phil. So it's clearly working.
Yeah, well, I have to say it's a lamp I have here that you can change the colors on. So I figure it kind of brings my skin out a little bit.
Oh, there you go. See, that's what I'm missing here. I'm too pale. It's because I'm in the mountain.
You you are. Oh, watch out for the goat behind you there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about as close to the mountains as I'm going to get for the next few weeks. So
yeah, pretty much.
Take it there. So that kind of wraps up everything I wanted to ask you about you and the podcasts and where they came from. So, lastly, I'd just like to plug the podcast again, Legends of the Brands, on all good podcast providers and some rubbish ones
All
as
good.
well.
Exactly. Yeah, it's iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, RSS feeds, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, if you like it, great. Like it, share it, subscribe, and all that sort of good stuff. And yeah, I'd love to get some feedback on it. Say, constructive criticism. And by no means am I professional. I'm just trying to do something and kind of say a bit of a hobby interest. And yeah, I don't think Tim Ferriss has to worry about anything right now. I think he's probably fine. And but yeah, definitely something that's I think worthwhile and interesting. And yeah, by all means, just get in touch, and love to hear from people. Love to whether you're in the UK or around the globe. I mean, it's just been incredible, some of the responses we've had, and people picking up in New Zealand and Finland and Ukraine and Australia. I'm kind of like, wow, that's awesome. You try to think I just something I just kind of did in the bedroom. So that's
So
cool.
cool.
So yeah, but no, cool. Thank you very much for your help and for plugging it, and all the best and all with regards to Winter Insight. And by all means, yeah, hopefully we can chat again soon.
Same to you. Thanks, Phil. So that was Phil Gordon from Legends of the Brand, a new podcast that's out there introducing legends of winter sports brands. Thanks, Phil.
Cool. Cheers.
Cheers. I'll just stop recording if I can remember how. Oh yeah, here we go.